What if you could invest in a medical breakthrough that actually, literally, nearly doubles the survival time for one of the most notoriously difficult to treat cancers in human history? Cancer touches almost all of our lives in some way, so when a real leap forward happens, we pay attention. And what if a legendary billionaire investor was betting a massive fortune on it? Welcome to this explainer on Revolution Medicines, or as Wall Street calls it, RVMD. Today, we're unpacking the story of a biotech stock that combines a staggering scientific breakthrough with a massive, eye-watering $45 billion valuation. This isn't just a story about science, it's a high-stakes gamble on the future of oncology. Okay, let's dive into this by looking at one of the primary reasons this stock is making such massive waves in the financial world right now. Legendary billionaire investor Stanley Druckenmiller is betting big here. This is a man who famously hasn't had a losing year in 30 years of investing. His strategy? Well, his philosophy really captures it perfectly. He likes to swing for the fence. He looks for those rare grand slam opportunities, and his heavy involvement in RVMD has everyone asking, does he know something the rest of the market doesn't?
To figure that out, here's our roadmap for today. First, the billionaire's biotech bet. Then, the science of daraxonrasib, FDA approval and market size, building the oncology pipeline, the Wall Street reality check, and finally, the final verdict. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The billionaire's biotech bet.
Druckenmiller isn't just holding his position in Revolution Medicines, he's actively doubling down. Recently, he increased his stake in RVMD by over 26%. Now, when an investor with a flawless 30-year track record makes a move like that, you know the entire market pays attention. He's betting a significant amount of capital on a company that, until very recently, was essentially a zero-revenue enterprise. Zero.
Now, what's totally undeniable here is the sheer scale of this gamble. We are looking at a market capitalization hovering near $45 billion. Just let that sink in for a second. $45 billion for a biotech company that, before its recent breakthrough, had absolutely zero approved products on the market. This isn't just pricing in success. This is a valuation that expects a complete revolution in how we treat cancer. It's literally a swing and a miss, or a grand slam kind of stock.
Section 2. The science of daraxonrasib. The heart of this entire story lies in a drug called daraxonrasib, and its main target, the RAS gene mutation. Pancreatic cancer is incredibly aggressive, and the survival rates have historically been just devastatingly low. Why? Well, because over 90% of these pancreatic tumors contain a mutation in the RAS gene. You can think of this mutation as a powerful, unstoppable engine driving the cancer's rapid growth. Until now, there simply haven't been great targeted options to shut that engine off. But Revolution Medicines developed daraxonrasib as a RAS-on inhibitor, basically a drug specifically designed to get in there and cut the fuel line to that engine.
And this brilliantly illustrates why the medical community is calling this drug practice-changing. In their Phase 3 trial, patients with previously treated metastatic pancreatic cancer who received standard chemotherapy had a median overall survival of just 6.7 months. But the patients who received daraxonrasib, their median overall survival jumped to 13.2 months. The drug nearly doubled the survival time for patients fighting one of the most ruthless diseases known to medicine.
This success carries right over to progression-free survival, which is the amount of time patients lived before the cancer actually started growing again. The standard chemotherapy group sat at 3.5 months, while daraxonrasib more than doubled that to 7.3 months. And just as importantly, it proved easier to tolerate. With fewer patients having to stop their treatment because of side effects, it allowed for a much better quality of life.
When you aggregate all this clinical data, it really boils down to one staggering statistic. Daraxonrasib achieved a 60% reduction in the risk of death compared to chemotherapy. In the world of late-stage oncology, a 60% reduction is exactly the kind of leap forward that defines careers and reshapes the standard of medical care entirely.
Section 3. FDA approval and market size. As of yesterday, this became a completely different company. The FDA officially approved daraxonrasib for this indication. It was actually fast-tracked under a priority review program because of the desperate, high unmet medical need for pancreatic cancer treatments. So it's officially launching under the brand name Rasonque. With that stamp of FDA approval, Revolution Medicines has officially crossed the threshold from a speculative clinical stage biotech into a commercial stage powerhouse with a real product ready to be sold. And they are entirely ready to launch. They've spent over a year preparing, building out medical affairs teams and an expanded access program that's already treated over 2,000 patients. The financial stakes here are astronomical. Wall Street analysts project that peak annual sales for Rasonque just in pancreatic cancer alone could reach between $5 billion and $7.6 billion. That is a massive addressable market right out of the gate.
Section 4. Building the Oncology Pipeline. To support a $45 billion market cap, Revolution Medicines needs to prove they're more than just a one-trick pony. The story doesn't end with Rasonque. The company is methodically building a pipeline that targets multiple cancers driven by different variations of the RAS mutation. They're already evaluating daraxonrasib as a first-line treatment for pancreatic cancer and as a therapy used after surgery. Plus, they've got a late-stage trial targeting non-small cell lung cancer. Furthermore, they're developing other promising drug candidates like zoldonrasib and eleronrasib, which target specific variants of the mutation. It's essentially a belt-and-suspenders approach to oncology. If one drug doesn't work for a patient's specific mutation profile, Revolution Medicines wants to ensure they have another drug in the pipeline that absolutely will.
Section 5. The Wall Street Reality Check.
Now, if the science is this practice-changing and the market is this massive, why are Wall Street analysts currently projecting a mere 7% upside for the stock from its current price? Well, we have to remember that financial markets are always forward-looking. Over the last 52 weeks, RVMD stock is up an astounding 456%. The incredible scientific success and the subsequent FDA approval have largely been priced in already. Retail investors often get caught up in these hype cycles, but this is setting up a classic buy the rumor, sell the news scenario. The market anticipated the successful launch, and now the company actually has to deliver the real revenue to match the hype.
And speaking of revenue, here is the financial whiplash. As of their second quarter in 2026, Revolution Medicines posted a net loss of $644 million. Actually, scratch that. It's not just a loss. They are burning through cash at an incredible rate to fund their massive research and development efforts. Up until yesterday's FDA approval, they had zero current revenue. That is a massive financial hole to dig out of, even with a blockbuster drug on hand. Furthermore, the execution risks from here on out are severe. Getting FDA approval was just the first, albeit massive, hurdle. Now they have to actually commercialize the drug. They have to gain approval from insurance payers. They have to convince oncologists, who, let's be honest, are often pretty set in their ways, to abandon the standard of care and prescribe Rasonque instead. They have to prove that their pristine clinical trial data actually holds up in messy, real-world hospital settings. And because they're a biotech, they continually face binary trial outcomes, meaning any unexpected hiccup in a future trial could send the stock tumbling right back down.
Section 6. The Final Verdict.
Revolution Medicines represents the ultimate binary investment. How do we weigh the incredible medical breakthrough against these stark financial realities? Well, on one hand, you have the aggressive investor, someone like Stanley Druckenmiller. They aren't worried about short-term fluctuations. They're looking years ahead, betting this will become the undisputed gold standard of care, not just in pancreatic cancer, but across the broader oncology landscape. On the other hand, the risk-averse investor sees a cautionary tale, a richly valued stock that's already popped 450%, a company burning hundreds of millions of dollars in cash, and a long, difficult path to consistent profitability filled with execution risks. So the crucial point is that this is a classic high-risk, high-reward setup.
There's no denying that the FDA approval of Rasonque marks a thrilling new era in cancer treatment. The science is undeniably impressive, and the potential to save lives is just immense. But as an investment, the execution remains uncertain. So I'll leave you with this question to consider as you look at your own portfolio. With practice-changing science on one side and a $644 million cash burn on the other, do you have the stomach for this high-stakes biotech ride?